Okay, so we had the U.S. as a world power. So first we defined like what a superpower was, and our definition is a superpower is a country that wields enough military, political, and economic might to convince nations in all parts of the world to do things they otherwise wouldn't. So examples of the U.S. and its power. So the U.S. has military bases all around the world, in almost every continent, and it puts military bases in places even when the other countries say they don't want them there. And it goes into other countries and tries to change their governments and whatnot. And the U.S. also believes it can do anything it wants to without permission from the other countries. The U.S. and its power. The U.S. is one of the few countries with under 2% extreme poverty rate, and America's military superiority remains unrivaled. And the U.S. accounts for 37% of global military spending and spends more than 4 times what China does on their military.
So, the U.S. has nuclear weapons. In this picture, okay, so can you see? Oh, yes. Yep. All right. So in this picture, in 1945, there was the U.S. bombed a place in Japan and it was called Hiroshima. And back then, they only used 15 kilotons, which was like 15 kilotons of TNT inside of a bomb, which is called a nuke. But now, as you can see, and the radius of it was only 20,000 feet. That's how high like the smoke and the dust came up. But now, the U.S. has the power to go up to 100,000 and even higher than that, as you can see in these graphs. And the average nuke is about the size of like a car. So, yeah, that's it. The U.S. also has a hydrogen bomb, and in this picture, you can see this is like the square range of an atomic bomb or the nuke, but now we have a bomb, the hydrogen, which is, as you can see, like almost 10 times the amount of an atomic bomb, the radius of how much damage it can do. And the U.S. have enough power to replicate Hiroshima 5 times the size of that. And Hiroshima, after the bombing happened, this is the destruction. As you can see, everything was wiped out. People in that picture over there, you can see people's faces were burned because after the bombing, as Dr. Monet said, there was like all the water evaporated. So the people in Japan were looking for water, and they couldn't, so they were dying of dehydration. And then after all the particles of dust went up into the air, it started to come back down as rain. And the people of Japan thought, oh, it's rain, it's water, I can drink it. But it was acid rain and like all the radioactivity that went up into the air from the bomb. So they were dying of that, which that killed a lot of people. The U.S. is kind of a bully, we said. It takes over other countries just using fear because of the size of its military and how much damage it can do. And there's not a lot of countries that can cause a big threat to America. Basically, we just steamroll over other countries, and we have a lot more money than most of the other countries in the world. And the U.S. has one of the best run governments in the world. So, in this here it says China's economy. So the second, we could say, one country that would have like enough power to maybe cause a threat to America would be China. It says China's economy is growing at an impressive rate, but it is not just the size of an economy that matters; it's also the quality. According to the World Bank, GDP per capita in the U.S. was 53,042 in 2013. In China, it was just 6,807. China's headline growth may be higher, but in the U.S. economy, it allows the citizens to also grow with it. Over 80% of financial transactions worldwide are conducted into dollars, which means most of the money comes to us. And so a lot of the other countries have faith in us in order to have their currency. So America's currency and overall economic stability, the U.S. economy remains one to beat. So that's ours. For the military, like he said, the U.S. accounts for 37% of global military spending, and is more than 4 times what China does, which is China's the number 2 spender in the world. The U.S. we dominate across the land, sea, and in the airspace. Some people could say that the military is weakened because of the wars in Iraq, but the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan speak more to the changing nature of warfare than declining of U.S. military superiority. The U.S. must ultimately learn to scale down to better meet the challenge, which means our army is used to fighting with like bigger weapons, more ranged weapons, but fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan, most other people are fighting through buildings and like smaller areas. So our military is very powerful, but we need to learn how to calm it down in order to fight against people who don't have what we have. So political influence. In 2013, the U.S. doled out about $32.7 billion in financial assistance. So it turns out the money by strong political cooperation from other countries. So even though we are in debt, we can still like help others, and we do that. And the second country that was doing this was the UK, but they only did 19 billion. So again, we're giving out a lot of money, a lot more than most other countries. The U.S. has the oldest working national constitution in the world, and as well as a strong institution and rules of law to accompany it. So it evolves as we evolve. And today, America is the #1 producer of oil and natural gas. So we have a lot of the power in the world. 30% of all research and development dollars are spent in the U.S. So we are the country that is doing the most research. So, and fun fact, in 2012, Americans spent $370 million on pet costumes. Yes, we spend a lot of money on nonsense, but we can do it because we're America and we're great. Thank you.